Hello everyone, welcome to the Geoecologist. I am Dr. Krishnanand, and in today's session we are going to learn about the contributions of Roman scholars in evolution of geographical thought. So largely two major scholars, Strabo and Ptolemy, are supposed to be the stalwarts of knowledge during the Roman era. So we are going to learn about them. But before we go ahead, please like and subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon.
So let's understand what happened after the Greeks. So after the Greeks, the political power shifted in the hands of the Romans. The Romans' major contribution, if we say, was in the field of historical and regional geography. But apart from that, they also contributed in the processes and forms aspects of the physical geography, mathematical geography, astronomy, and most significant work that came in the later part of the Romans was in the field of cartography. And two scholars who made the mark as Roman scholars are Strabo and Ptolemy. So these two names that we need to remember from the Roman scholars are Strabo and Ptolemy's contribution. So let's look at them. First of all, let's look at the contribution of Strabo. So Strabo, a Roman scholar and a traveler, was highly influenced by historical topographical tradition. Basically, the topographical tradition, it means the physical aspects of the nature. So historically looking at that, and it was influence of the Greek scholars or the inspiration of the Greek scholars like Homer, Hecataeus, Aristotle that inspired Strabo to continue with the same kind of work. It was in Rome where he stayed at least until 31 before Christ or before Common Era that he wrote his first major work, and that first major work is known as Historical Sketches. So this is about the historical aspects of the places and people. So it was published in about, if you look at this particular time period, it was 20 before Common Era, of which very few quotations only survived later on. And then further, he said that there is an intimate relationship. The same concept that was given by Herodotus, if you remember, that every history should be treated geographically and every geography should be treated historically, it was kind of repeated by Strabo, or it was kind of taken from the previous and built in a particular way. The statement says that intimate relationship between history and geography exists. So this is the concept that emerged during the Romans, and Strabo had major contributions in this study. Now let's look at the more work. So Strabo accepts the Aristotle's zones of Eucmene, that was the zones of habitability, and it was defined further by Eratosthenes. So this work was finally given validity when the limit of possible human life, towards the equator was defined clearly by Strabo. It was said that the latitude 12 to 30 degree north is habitable zone. It's that zone where possibility of life is there. So he also places the northern limit. Equator was, it was southern limit, and northern limit of the habitable earth was also discussed in his work. So he said that the cold is the limiting factor when we go northward, and heat is the limiting factor when we go southward. So this limiting factor was considered, and only 400 miles was given as the acceptable limit. And from which point? From the north of Black Sea. So Black Sea was a standard landmark from which further north 400 miles was supposed to be habitable, and then there was the zone which was not habitable for human beings. So his biggest contribution, if we say, was the work in 17 volumes, and it is called Geographia, not Geographica. Geographica was Eratosthenes. So Geographia was 17 volumes work that was done by Strabo, and he spent most of his time in Library of Alexandria. So remember, he spent maximum time at Library of Alexandria, and Alexandria Library was a rich repository of all those knowledge produced by the Greek scholars. So he took notes from the works of his predecessors and further advanced the knowledge of geographical thought. So out of these 17 books, if we see, 8 are in Europe, 6 are in Asia, and one of them is talking about the known Africa, that is Egypt and Ethiopia. So that's important. The first 2 books were devoted to the historical review, as we said, historical sketches or historical understanding. So the first 2 part out of the 17 was dedicated to the historical review of the development of geography from the times of Homer. So it was completely a dedicated work and a base work that was also cited later on in the Middle Ages and in modern geography as well, that was talking about the evolution of geographical thought and understanding. Furthermore, if you look at this particular map which was made by Strabo, you see the extent that was defined clearly, as we said. So this Libya, the northern part of Africa, and Arabia, Asia, all those parts in Europe, Britannia. So all these places were clearly cited and marked in his world map that was prepared. And this is one of that page, the front page if you see here. It was a title page from Isaac Casaubon work. He translated the work into German. So that is when this Geographica was translated and it came to the hands of Europeans. So let's understand that in this particular work, Strabo gives basically correct explanation of the floods of Nile, which was not yet explained correctly. And the reason that was estimated, the reason that was attributed was the heavy rainfall. So this is the Nile River, and in this area there was heavy rainfall, because of which there was flooding. And so heavier summer rains in Ethiopia was discussed in this particular volume. Then further, he also contributed towards world's first administrator's book. This is interesting because Strabo was one of the leading personalities who used to sit and work with the administrators, the decision makers. So he made this particular administrator's handbook regarding the places, people, culture, and other parts of the environment, the entire geographical understanding, so that the administrator could have better understanding of his entire empire. So he facilitated them for decision making. Then further, Ptolemy, the second scholar. If you look at Ptolemy, it's interesting that he revived the mathematical and astronomical traditions and the cartography traditions right from the earlier Greeks, that is Thales of Miletus. So now the center was Alexandria, but the knowledge was coming from Miletus. If we look at him, for him geography was a science of the art of map making. A very interesting definition that he gave, that geography was a science of art of map making. So it was basically a science, but of what? Of art of map making. So it was not simply an art. It was the science of an art of map making. That's what the interesting part is. So he came up with monumental work that is known as the Almagest. The Almagest is a monumental work on astronomy. So his work remained the standard reference for the study of the movement of celestial bodies for a long time to come. And that's why he is regarded as one of the top figures in the Roman Empire who contributed to the work of astronomy. He even accepted the Aristotle's view that Earth was spherical in shape. So that's interesting. So what happens when the earlier views are accepted by great scholars, so that viewpoint cements in the memory of the people of that time. So what happens? They view that Earth was a sphere in shape and it was centered in universe, that is geocentric concept. As we know, this is called geocentric concept. So this geocentric concept was the most accepted concept, the most modern concept, if you say, of that particular time. So this concept was finally cemented by Ptolemy's work as well. He improved and modified previous maps by adopting a projection for the world map. So this work on projections was very much interesting in his work, and it had a graticule. It means the latitude and longitude section that he drew, that is meridians of longitude and parallels of latitudes, according to which he drew his world map to the correctness at the best possible way. But remember, after the completion of Almagest, he started to write next volume that was about geography. So it was called Guide to Geography, which consisted of 8 volumes. It includes compilation of geographical coordinates of part of the world known to the Roman Empire during this time. So remember, what does this Guide to Geography has? It has the description of that known world during the Roman Empire, and this is one of the maps, the world maps, and if you look at it carefully, there are graticules drawn here. So according to the graticules projection, this was a map of the world which was supposed to be the finest work of the Roman era. done by Ptolemy, and it was validated in the Middle Ages as well after his translation. So that was interesting part. In its first volume, out of the 8 volumes, he discussed the map projections only. So when we study map projections in geography in practical part, it's largely credited to the work of Ptolemy, and from there the understanding developed in the Middle Ages and other people joined like Mercator and others. So they developed further on the basis of different projections. Now, he accepted the idea that regions near the equator were uninhabitable because of higher temperature. So remember Aristotle's zone of habitability and Strabo's work as well. So he also said that, Ptolemy also said that there are higher temperatures if we go down south towards equator. So that's why there is no habitability around equator. Although no one had traveled till that particular time to the equator that was later on traveled in the Middle Ages. So Ptolemy has been referred to as pro-astrological authority of highest magnitude during this Greco-Roman period. So it means he was supposed to be the person or the scholar of highest value, highest authority in astrological studies as well. So his astrological treatise is called Tetrabiblos. So there is a Greek term that is called Tetrabiblos. The word tetra means 4 because it had 4 books in one. So that is also sometimes referred to as quadripartium. So it was into 4 parts. That's why it is called quadripartium as well, or Tetrabiblos. So that was interesting work on astrology. And his optics, that was the work that we study in physics. So he also had some work on optics, that was discussion of properties of light, reflection, refraction, color, which was later on translated into Arabics, and this knowledge was further preserved. So there are several characters or items named after Ptolemy in today's world. So let's understand which of them. The crater Ptolemais of the moon. So it's a name that is given to a crater on moon, also a crater on Mars called Ptolemais. So it's because of the greatness of astronomy and astrological work of Ptolemy that it is credited. Then further, Messier 7, sometimes known as Ptolemy cluster. So it's a Ptolemy cluster of stars that is Messier 7, and it has been given that particular name. So this is in the constellation of Scorpius. So these are particular names in modern times which have been given for the credits to acknowledge the authority of the great scholar that is Ptolemy. Now let's look at furthermore. We observe that Ptolemy's geography was translated into Latin in 1409. So in early 15th century, which is supposed to be largely the time when age of discovery was almost starting. So age of discovery that we study later on in other lectures. So when we see that age of discovery, remember 1409 was the time when his work, Ptolemy's work on geography, was translated, and it went all across the Western Europe. So people started recognizing the work again after 1000 years. So that's when Christopher Columbus also, remember, he sailed to find India and he reached America. So why did he do that? In 1492, what was the reason behind it? The reason was Ptolemy's work. So what happened? He sailed using the Ptolemy's projection, but he did not realize that the land which was India was further more westward. It was the America that lied in between. So he thought that he reached India rather than he actually reached America. And that was also because of some errors in the projection, which was of course later on corrected. So in 1932 finally, a person called Edward L. Stevenson, the very famous American cartographer, actually finally translated this Ptolemy's work into English. So it took almost 2000 years or almost 1900 years to get it translated in English. So that was interesting in 1932. So what happened after the death of Ptolemy? The geographic horizons that has been widened and a base has been created of geographical thought in terms of physical and also intellectual knowledge creation by Greeks and Romans finally closed. So why did it close? What happened? We'll understand it when we study these dark ages. So these times after the Ptolemy's death is referred to as the dark ages in European history. And why is it so? We'll understand in further lectures. It was largely because the influence of church and its ways of thinking about geographies changed. So that we understand in the next lecture.
So now when we have studied all the Greek scholars and all the Roman scholars, their major contributions, we understand that they are rightfully called the building blocks of geographical thought or the subject of geography itself. So now in coming lectures, we'll be learning about the times that was post these scholars, post Greco-Roman times. So what happened to geography during Dark Ages in Europe, what happened during Arab scholars, and further more. So stay tuned, stay safe, all the best wishes.